Welcome to a 1 minute story. I'm so glad you have joined us today. This is going to be an exciting time as we learn to share really your 1 minute message. And I'll tell you, I'll never forget the day that my coach said, I have traveled the world and heard many, many different stories, but I've never heard a story like yours. However, if you don't learn to tell it with the power that it's worth, it will fade like any other story. When I learned to tell my story in 1 minute, I knew I had learned the power of story. My name is Linda Olson, and today what I want to do is I'm going to give you the 6 elements that need to be included in the power of story. And then I'm going to share my 1 minute story and allow you to give me feedback through the comments. And then I've invited 2 guests with me so that you can also hear their 1 minute story. So we've got a lot to cover in our short time together, but I know we can do it. So let's get started. The 1 minute story has 6 significant elements. All of them need to be included. It's like ingredients, like you're baking a cake. If you miss one ingredient, either the cake goes flat or it isn't sweet, or, you will notice the one ingredient if it's missing. So all 6 elements need to be included. And I've set up an acronym. The acronym is CREATE to help you remember the elements of story. The first one is curiosity. The purpose of sharing our 1 minute story is so that others, our listeners, will want more of you. Somebody has said we do not remember events, we remember moments. Make moments worth remembering. And so we want our audience to be able to experience us in that 1 minute so that they will remember us. So the first one is curiosity. The second one is R for real. It is so important that you are real, that you are authentic, and this is your voice. Sometimes we hear another speaker or someone just share some awesome material, and we think, oh, I'll just put that in my story. But you know what? Unless it is clearly part of your story, your listeners can tell the difference. They can tell whether you're authentic or not. And so make it your voice. C is curiosity. R is real. E is emotional connection. There's a business principle that says people buy into you before they buy into your product or your service. Buying into you is buying into your story. And what you need to do, the way you need to do that is through making an emotional connection. So how do you do that? Well, even though this is your story, it's about them. So you need to know your audience, know what they are dealing with, what their problems are, what their issues are, what their complaints are at this time. And the one thing you want to look for is what is the biggest negative emotion they are facing right now. It could be fear, it could be anxiety, loneliness, guilt, shame, or something else. And once you feel like you understand what they're dealing with, then think of your story. And for example, let's say it's fear. Then think of a time when you experienced fear and include that in part of your story. That's how you connect with them. And when you make that connection, they will be sitting at the edge of their seat waiting for more. So C is curiosity. R is real, E is emotional connection, and A is attention. You want to grab the attention. And so not only are they, as they're sitting at the edge of their seat, they are really wanting more. And I'll tell you, this starts with the very first sentence that you give. Remember, this whole thing, your whole story, your message is only 1 minute. So every word counts. And the way you're able to grab that attention is through three things. One is it needs to be personal. Secondly, you want to show your heart, not only tell them. And thirdly, you need to be passionate about this because, again, this is personal. This is your story, and you are sharing truly from a very vulnerable position. This idea that I'm just sharing now is something called episodic storytelling. And I learned it from one of my story trainers, Pat Quinn. And it's truly a fabulous way to bring people in to so they will experience story with you. I thought it might be helpful to give you a few examples to kind of see what I'm talking about. So I chose 3 examples from my story. With knees knocking and hands trembling, I dialed a familiar number. Hopefully, that grabbed your interest and you want to know more. Why was I so nervous about dialing that number? And who did I need to talk to? Here's another example. Dad raced 90 miles an hour on the gravel road to the nearest hospital. So, again, obviously, there's an urgency, and hopefully, you're wanting to hear more. My dad came to my bedroom door and said, "You've got to get up. We have to keep going." So, those are 3 examples of my story. And I know that with practice, you can come up with many different examples for your story. C is curiosity, R is real, E is emotional connection, A is attention, and now the T is, excuse me, is teach. So, in teaching, you want to offer some kind of value. Somebody has said it's not what you give them, it's what they leave with that matters. You see, we kind of have the idea that if I speak for 30 minutes, that you will remember everything I say and walk away with that. Unfortunately, that is not true. Research tells us that we only remember 7% of what we hear, 23% of what we experience, and 70%, excuse me, 23% of what we see, 70% of what we experience. So that is why we want to draw our audience in so they can experience you. And the more they experience you, the more likely they will remember. So 3 things as we teach. Give them a nugget, whether an inspirational, saying, a tip, something. Of course, this is just 1 minute, so you have to make it real short, but you wanna give them something so they will want more. Secondly, invite them to be part of your mission. And thirdly, inform them of who you are or remind them of who you are. Now, they've probably heard an introduction, and but at this point, chances are, if they've never heard you before, they won't remember your name. So I encourage you to share your name again, let them know who you are, and see now you've already given them value so they will pay more attention to who you are. And that's why it's good to share it at this point. So give them value, invite them to be part of your mission, and inform them of who you are. That's all part of the teach. So again, C is curiosity, R is real, E is emotional connection, A is attention, T is teach, and then our last E is explode your message. And how will you explode it? You do this by keeping it short, keeping it clear, avoid any unnecessary detail. And remember, your focus has to be on the listener. Yes, this is your story, and you're not sharing your how of your story. At this point, all you're doing is grabbing attention, building that curiosity, and sharing your what. But your focus is the listener, because hopefully with your story, you can come alongside them and connect with them, encourage them, support them in some way. And they will know as they hear your story whether they want to hear more of you or not. So, again, as a quick review, C is curiosity, R is real, E, emotional connection, A is attention, T is teach, and E is explode your message. Now, I know that is a lot of information in a very short time, and normally I would probably take at least an hour to share this, but I felt like the best way to use our half hour together would not only be able to give you the information to know that this is possible, but to share my message so you can get an idea of how this all fits together. And then, like I said, I've invited two of my guests to share with you as well their story. So here we go. I'm going to try and do my best to share my message. My dad came to my bedroom door and said, "You've got to get up. We have to keep going." The day before was the worst day of my life. My precious 2-year-old brother was killed in a tractor accident. I was the one driving the tractor. That day changed my life forever. It was a long and costly journey to healing. But the one thing I discovered that the biggest price I would ever pay is staying stuck in my story. You see, staying stuck meant that it would be the cost of relationships, the cost of never fulfilling my dream, the cost of denying the greatest gift I had been given, my story. My name is Linda Olson, and I hope you'll join me to impact millions through story. Okay, that was my 1 minute story. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to allow you to test my story and see that all of these elements have been included. I've never done this before, so I'm feeling kind of vulnerable right now. But just in the comments section, if you felt like, as I bring up each element, if you felt like that this was included for you, just put a yes, just put a quick yes, and we'll go through this quickly. So the first one was curiosity. Did you feel that I built a curiosity? You wanted to hear more. If so, just put a yes in there. Our second one is real. Did you feel like I was real and authentic? Whether this was my story and my voice, just put a yes through that. Emotional connection. Did you feel like in some way I had made that emotional connection with you? That perhaps you felt some of the pain and it triggered some of your pain? Whatever it is, was there an emotional connection? A is attention. Did you feel like I grabbed attention? Did you want to know more of my story? Or were you distracted and thinking about something else? If yes, put a yes in the comment box. T is teach. Did you feel like I offered some nugget or something that you could walk away with? Again, if so, put a yes in the comment box. And E is explode your message. Did you feel like what I shared is something that could explode, that I could take it many other places, and that it was a clear message? Okay, very good. And I'm going to take a closer look at some of those later, because bottom line is I want to know that I'm connecting with my audience. And like I said, this is a first experience for me to do it in this way. But I want to know whether that audience is one person, whether it's 10, whether it's 100 or more. I want to know that I'm connecting. I also want you to know that obviously this was my story. This is one story. I've practiced it for a long time, but every story is different. That's the wonderful part about story is of the whole world, there's no one that has a story just like yours. And within 1 minute, you can make it your unique story. And so for that reason, I've invited two of my guests. They're both my friends. I am honored to have them join us today. And I'm going to bring on Hasuki Murata, better known as Suki. Suki has a powerful story, and I've invited her to share this with you.
Hello. I sat in my doctor's office overwhelmed. I had just been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. The doctor said it's too late for chemo, too late for radiation, or any other kind of treatment. He gave me 1 to 5 years to live. I'm Hatsuki Murata. Was faced with biggest decision in my life. Will I choose life or will I choose death? I realized that the cancer is not a death sentence unless we accept it as that. I said goodbye to my old way of living, began to live every day with a smile. The artist in me came back to life. In 2 years, I have published my first book, Facing the Storm with Kokoro, writing second book, Fight with a Smile, about my cancer journey to motivate other cancer patients, and started a children's series. I'm Hatsuki Murata. I believe everyone can live life with a smile.
Very good. I hope you enjoyed Suki's story. Let's give her a hand. I thought it was fabulous. Very powerful story. And I'll tell you, it takes a lot of courage to share your story, but to share it in 1 minute, to me, even takes more courage because every word counts. That was very well done, Suki. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for sharing. Yes. And now I'm going to bring on um, another guest. Her name is Victoria Chapin. And Victoria, too, has a very powerful story. I know you'll enjoy her as well.
Her heart stopped beating. When I heard those quiet words spoken to me, it didn't seem real. But then I heard the voice again, a little louder. Time of death, 2:47 a.m. From that moment on, life would never be the same. Does a mother truly overcome the tragic loss of her child? How can she find joy after that kind of pain? Can pain and joy coexist? I'm Victoria Chapin, and I'm a grieving mama, yet passionate about joy. I've learned the secret to being content in any and every situation. My mission is to embrace and inspire those who experience unimaginable loss so they too can have victory and live life to the fullest.
Wow, wow, wow. Let's give her a hand. That was fabulous.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Victoria. I know, I mean, every time I hear your story, I get goosebumps. It's just amazing because there's something that happens even if our story is totally different than any of these stories that you heard. We identify with the emotional pain and try and put ourselves in her shoes and think, what would life have been like? Could I have even been able to handle that? And that's the power of story. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So what we're going to do now is I'm going to we're just going to go to prayer right now and thank God for the stories that he's given us. So Heavenly Father, we just thank you right now for the incredible stories that you have given us. Even though in going through these stories, we may not have felt like it was a gift, but it truly is the greatest gift you have given us. Thank you for loving us, for caring for us enough to help us walk through these painful journeys. And more than anything, we want to use our story for your glory. And so we say thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Very good. So you will be able to ask questions. And so if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comment box and we will take some time to address them. But right now, what I want to do is I want to introduce what I consider one of the most fun parts of our presentation, and that is our prizes. I hope that you have seen that at the end of January, the very end of January, I am doing a 5-day challenge called Create a Transformational Story. And to put together a 1-minute story, that is truly a skill. And it takes time and it takes practice. These ladies have practiced for some time in putting this together, and so have I. But I'll tell you what's even easier than putting together a 1-minute story is actually starting with a 2-minute story. So in that challenge, I'm going to take you and give you a tip every day for 5 days. And by the end of those 5 days, you will be able to have a 2-minute story. And the reason we need to keep this so short is because our attention spans are so short these days that if we share longer than 2 or at the very most 3 minutes, we will lose our listener. And so it is absolutely crucial be able to tell our stories in this short a time. And let me just share with you, you may say, well, I have a huge story and I know there's no way I could share it in 2 minutes. Then you break it down into 2-minute pieces. My story is huge as well. It's a 45-year journey. And like I said, it was only when I learned to share it in 2 minutes and then 1 minute that I learned the power of story. And again, it is a skill. So that's for everybody. That challenge is valued at $197, but it is my gift to you. So I hope you'll join us and get started with story. We have a lot of fun doing that. Then I want to give away 2 1-hour coaching sessions to help you with your story. So whether you want to do your 2-minute story, your 1-minute story, or maybe you're not even sure if you have a story and you just like to talk to me about that, and I'll help you. I'll help you find your story. And the way we're going to do these prizes is that I'm going to tell you what to put into the comments section. And I have my wonderful assistant who's going to be watching the comments and be able to pick the very first person who wrote down whatever I ask you to say. And the thing is, it can't be misspelled and you can't be missing a word. So it has to be exactly like I say it. Are you ready? Okay. I have a story. Write that in the comment section. I have a story, the first one that puts it in. Okay, we have a winner. Very good. All right. And we're going to go for 2 winners. So, are you ready? I'm going to give you another phrase to put in the comment box. And the very first one gets an hour of coaching. The power of story. Okay, we have another winner. So I'm excited to meet you. Just fill out the form below and I'll be able to get in touch with you. We'll set up a time to meet. And I'm so excited. But remember, even if you didn't win, start with the 5-day challenge. It is a great way to begin learning about story. And I'll tell you, in no time at all, you'll be sharing your 1-minute story like these ladies have here today. They've learned quickly. They've been attentive, but I've been working with them for a while. And so again, it is a skill and it does take time. So I just want to say a very big thank you for joining us today. It's been exciting to I wanted you to know it truly is possible to share your story in 1 minute. Thank you.